So tonight we're gonna have Mo here.
Hey
Um,
everybody.
you're gonna do a
Hello.
better intro for yourself than I will. So tell us
I'll take it
about
from
you.
here.
Tell us how you got here. Give us the details.
Sure. I met some of you. Nice meeting all of you if I didn't get to say hi. My name is Mahmoud Elhussini. I'm a university associate professor. I teach at university, and I also own a business coaching company, right, where I consult and coach businesses to grow, do more with less, systemize their operations, take a day off. Some business owners haven't taken days off in a while, so I help them better manage their businesses. I work with anything from a small one-man show electrician company up to training a couple of hundred sales reps at a pharma company in Jersey. I work mainly in the East Coast. My background, I worked in corporate and sales and marketing operations training at a couple of pharma companies in New Jersey, in Bridgewater, New Jersey. I worked in data analytics for a few years, then I switched into consulting. I did where I was helping companies build their customer interface platforms, kind of like when you log into your bank, that website that you see, right? That screen that you see, I helped companies develop it, but more for sales reps and pharma companies. Then I switched over in the last end of my corporate life into international consulting. I worked with some companies to create joint ventures between the Gulf area and the Middle East, Europe, around Turkey, and the US. One of the last synergies that we created was between the military in a country in Northern Africa. I'm not allowed to say which one. They were building grain silos, right? And they created a partnership with Sioux Steel in the US and a company in Belarus where they integrated their technology and their know-how to build grain silos for the farmers across the Mediterranean because they used to store their grain just in piles in the on the highway. So the government funded through the military a project to do so. Last part of my career, once I started getting burnt out from working in corporate and traveling a lot, I switched over to academia about a decade or so ago. Started teaching at universities, and I started my own coaching business. So both my background, from corporate, plus my education, I got a bachelor's in biology. I did an MBA in global management, an MS from Stevens Tech in data management, and a doctorate in strategic studies. So everything aligned in the same direction where I like to educate, learn myself from my clients, right? Try to show them the mistakes that I've seen happen, right? Kind of like a collective intel data warehouse where people learn from each other's mistakes and try to help people, kind of like Cole was saying, act as a catalyst to help them grow and move ahead quickly.
I love it. So when we talked earlier, we were talking a lot about mindset stuff here. And
Yes,
everybody here is an investor, which means we're basically in business, right? And we're all running our own show. We're trying to figure it out. So what I really want to focus on tonight is kind of a lot of these hurdles that we run into and maybe how we solve them or just different ways to view them. So one thing I know that we talked about is like you are what you think about. Um,
correct.
how do you view that? Is that correct? Can you give us any kind of more insight into
I agree with it. And I'll tell you what I think about and let's talk about, we'll take it one step back. Think of it this way, right? When we're going to talk about the mindset, I'm trying to put it in perspective for you when I did a similar workshop before. In a perfect world, there would be me, my business, my customer, my product, and nothing else. No competition, right? Meaning it would be an easy transaction. I want this, you have it, I'll buy it from you, and we're done. Because of competition, because of the awareness that consumers have now, it's not about what we sell anymore. We can't feature dump, this is what I do. I'm open 7 days. I'm the best at it. It's not enough anymore. So it comes back to this. So when we talk about the mindset is who we are, it starts with this. And this is how I think about that sentence that you said, Cole. What I think leads to how I feel. And how I feel triggers my action. And everybody that's sitting here, They don't see what I'm thinking of. They may feel what I'm feeling, right, if I show it, but the only thing you're going to witness and experience is my action, right? So you think about if I'm defining myself by somebody that misassumes what you're thinking, rushes into action, quickly makes up a decision, makes up my mind in a wrong way or right way, I'm defining myself based upon what's in my mind without properly slowing down to reflect on what I'm thinking. But in
Hmm.
summary, what I think leads to how I feel, and how I feel leads to what I do.
Hmm. There's so many directions I want to go with that. Kind of aside, so okay,
Lead away, any direction that you want.
let's put that to the side. I want to come back to that in a second. So, kind of related to that, I think is a conversation about alignment. So, aligning with what you do, is this the right thing? Am I going in the wrong direction? When is this working? How long do I push before I stop? Do you have any kind of thoughts on that, especially for people here that might be starting and they're like, well, I have all these positive thoughts, I'm thinking the right things, but like, is this working? Is this what I should be doing?
That's a question that we can also take in a million different ways to answer. I'm going to pick one. Right? I'm going to pick one
Okay.
because it's really interesting that you say this. One of the things that scare me the most, which I found out by listening to a TED talk, is that my subconscious mind, which is that little walnut sized bit of my mind, cannot differentiate between what I'm imagining to be real and what is actually real. It cannot differentiate between what I'm perceiving to be real and what is actually, meaning this, right? If I know I need to go from here to Bethlehem, I see there's a bike or my shoes. My conscious mind logically says take the bike. My subconscious mind will say, oh, no, no, you don't know how to ride a bike. You're never going to learn. Do you guys get the idea? So, the direction I'm taking your comment, and you gear me
Mm-hmm.
in the direction that you want if it's not what you were thinking, is this. If you ask me, Mo, move this building, I know I can't.
Mm-hmm.
It's materialistic, I know. But if you tell me, Mo, take on this client and go grow their business, because of the intangible aspect, our human instinct is to doubt ourselves, right? We live in a very cynical environment just because of things that are going on around us. So we limit our potential with doubt before saying, you know what? No, I really can't do this. I should give myself a chance and go and do it, right? So and I see this, by the way, I'm not making this stuff up. I'm not a genius. I'm not an expert in this topic, but I'm in all sincerity, I'm telling you the lessons, the things I saw, witnessed from my clients, right? I see some of them called, they have everything that they can use to go all the way up to Philly, work, expand their market all the way to Philly. But because of an experience that they had before, because of somebody whispering in their ear, nah, 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 don't do it. Every time I tell them, they're like, no. And they make up other excuses that have nothing to do with this. So to go back to what you said earlier,
Mm.
questioning what I can't possibly do with my business, especially if I know it's extremely competitive out there, that everybody competing with me, very easy entry barriers to enter the same market, et cetera, et cetera. The first thing I would say, eliminate the doubt. And there's ways we might talk about it later to
Mm.
really work on reflecting on the situation in a realistic way. And there's exercises that you can do, right, to anchor the belief in your mind that I'm going to break out of the habit behind saying no first and then think. I'm going to actually say, I can do this, and then properly assess the situation.
I love that. Let's go into that because I love the conversation around the subconscious mind and how you can come up with these excuses consciously that aren't actually the reason why you're saying no,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So, I guess first step is what? Becoming aware of that, becoming aware that you have this subconscious kind of training in the back of your head.
Let me think. First, I'm putting myself in that situation. I would say, first thing, before you even, first thing every day, what I honestly do with myself, first thing, I admit to myself that yes, those insecurities are real, those doubts are real, and I have to acknowledge that they exist. Now, coming to your question, the first thing I would do is to say, I know that my mind leans towards the cautious negative part in my behavior and my actions, and I'm actually going to look this in a positive way. And the other thing
Mm,
that I do, and I'm telling you really step by step what I do, I write down two or three successful experiences that I went through in the past, right? That will help me build my confidence up. And something psychological called the anchoring effect, right? I remember when I closed this deal with this customer, I was very positive. I was sitting straight. I was, even if it's tapping on the table, I remember things that I was doing. It's science. I'm not making this up. Like, this isn't my thoughts, but it really works. I looked into it. You think of an environment that you were in, the way you were thinking, a habit that you can formulate to help you control the environment in that new situation. Do you get it? You
mhm.
visualize, right? Going back to what we said at the beginning, what's one of the step two or three that I do, right? Instead of thinking about the limitations, I visualize what it's going to look like when I achieve what I want. Again, right? When I'm thinking about that little subconscious demon in my head, and I know he's tricky and he believes everything, I make him believe that when I visualize that end point in my journey, what it's going to look like, right? And I materialize it in my head, it's a mind game. It's a domino effect afterwards.
Mm. I love that. The reason I ask is everybody in this room is looking for their next deal. They want to buy a deal, and whether it's another deal they've done similar to, or maybe they want to buy a bigger deal. There's just these barriers that we run into, and it's the self-talk a lot of times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thinking from the perspective if somebody's trying to do the next deal, whether it's something different or even the same, but they have the subconscious stream going, just what are ways that we can fix that? And so, kind of your question, one of them was visualize. Are there any others that kind of can retrain your subconscious and kind of help alter
I
that?
talked about the emotion. I wrote some of them down. The
Yeah.
emotional anchoring. We talked about shifting the mind state. Uh, train train your mind, your mindset to accept that completing that task is a reality, right? Going back to that visualizing, it's a transaction, guys, right? When we go out to meet somebody, right? And we're talking about it again from the mindset perspective. Train your mind, condition your mind to understand that by habit, this is going to be completed in a successful way. Granted, when you're done, it may not. But guess what? If you had thought about it in a negative way, it may work or it may not. So either way, the end result is going to be the same. Now, there's other things that factor in, right? How do you negotiate and how do you build rapport? Different discussion. But as far as the mind, the more you visualize it, and I have some clients, before I give it back to you, Cole,
Mhm.
when I tell them, visualize your success and write this down, come on, Mo. What, you want me to put up a little whiteboard in my kitchen and stick up things from magazines, a Rolls Royce, a Rolex watch to visualize? I'm like, yes, do that. It really is. That is what works. Psychologically speaking, studies have shown, and you guys can Google it. When you see where you want to be, not how you're going to do it, but where you want to be, it helps things head in the right direction.
Does everybody here have a vision board? Only a few? Oh my goodness. All right. All right. Another question I have for you is I know you're passionate about personalities. Can you talk to us about, like, I guess how different personalities can affect your business and or how your personality might be forming, how to notice it, anything like that?
Let's link it to what we just talked about.
Hmm.
What am I going to do? Can I do this or not? Right? The subconscious, the conscious mind making a decision. I want you guys to separate between two things. There are personality tests that show you intrinsically what you're made up of, and it's permanent things that follow you through in your life. And then there are behavioral assessments that you do to show you a snapshot point in time, who you are, how you react. Like, for example, I'll be more specific. Part of what I do with a lot of businesses, and it's usually for some reason because they're very competitive, I do it at hotels, I do it with real estate offices, with hospitals between Lehigh and St. Luke's, because it's a very competitive environment. They realize that they need to work on the person and not the product, because the product's the same, right? But anyway, within the DISC behavioral analysis, there's somebody, I'm going to sum it up so we don't go into too much detail. A dominant personality, right? That makes up about this much of the society. There's an influencer, somebody that loves to be loved. There's a steady, stable, that's the S personality. Majority of us are that, 60% of the society. And then there's the compliant task. The D and the C are compliant. Now, bring this in with what you talked about before, Cole. Imagine somebody, right? Everything we're talking about is me and my mind. But imagine if you walk up to somebody that has an I personality, meaning they're very influenced by what people tell them, and you tell them you can't do this. And imagine that person is 11 years old and you've been telling them that for 5 years and for the next decade. What are they going to grow up to be? Stick to this, you can't do that. Stick to this, you can't do that. So the personality plays part, a huge underlying part in the decisions that we make. And the best part is we don't even know it, right? Our habits that we formed, our blind spots in our mind. Cole may see that when I get angry, my voice gets loud. I never notice it. He's like, Mo, when you get nervous or angry, you speak, you're too loud. I'm like, really? I never noticed it. But those little triggers that happen, the dominant fears that we have, are a big part of how much influence does our subconscious mind have on us.
Interesting. So you're saying the more, say that again, though, about the subconscious and the,
I wish I recorded
damn
it.
it,
I hate it when my clients tell me that. Oh, this was so good. Say it again. I'm like, why didn't you record it?
how
Let me.
things come out, like the variation of how it comes out is in proportion to your subconscious and how much it
Yes.
rules you.
So, so my personality, my tendencies in a certain situation,
Hmm.
combined with the doubts that my subconscious mind may have,
Mm,
based upon those tendencies, my decisions may not may will significantly differ.
interesting. So for everybody sitting here, how important is it to understand your personality and where you fall between those four things? Is it something that would drastically change your results in everyday life or your business? Or is it,
100%. I'm
yeah,
sorry, finish the question.
no,
Sorry.
that's it.
100%. I figure out my first corporate mistake that I did was when I worked as a shift supervisor at Pizza Hut when I was 17. I never forget it. And I got too emotional with somebody and I felt my power. I just got promoted. I'm a shift supervisor. And I sent somebody home and all she was doing was just making an honest joke with me. I never forget that day. I rushed into a decision and I regretted it. Up until this morning, I am still learning things about myself. I swear to you, I am still learning things about myself that I did not know from my son, from my daughter. But do you guys know how I do it? I reflect on every single thing that I say and I do. Something that I do with me thinking and reflecting about it turns into an experience. So that's a very simple answer. But yes, when you understand your personality, it's good.
Mm,
But it's going to open up the door. It's going to open up the door to you realizing that the people that you're talking to are different than who you are.
mm,
And it's going to help you understand what their dominant fears are. Meaning a compliant person, a C personality, if you criticize them, the deal is done before you even continue, right? A dominant personality like Trump, right? And we're not saying we're not talking politics, he's right or wrong, but he's a screaming D personality. Like his D on his graph, I looked at it. His D is all the way at the top, meaning I'm gonna do it first because I believe it's right, right, and then I'm gonna see what happens, the consequences later. But if you trigger a dominant fear in somebody, big boo boo, right? Now, if you know what their motivational environment is, like the I personality, I'll
Mhm.
give you the best example before I give it back to you. When I used to go to an interview for a job and I could see the person coming in that they're an I personality, they love to talk. I kid you not, the interview for an hour, they would spend 50 minutes talking, and all I'm doing is, wow, that's amazing. Your cat really did that? Wow, you're unbelievable. They hire me and they don't even know why. Just because I made them feel loved. Do you guys see it? So besides what I'm selling, I'm gonna keep saying this to you. This has about this much to do with your transaction being successful. This much has to do with what you said, the personality.
It's so good. I think of specifically in us and investors dealing with mostly off-market deals, right? That's kind of like the gems here, and it's always how do we get the seller to say yes? How do we get this to work out? How do we get them to do this thing in our favor? And it sounds like by knowing how we're going to react and how we kind of approach things, that'll be a huge piece. But it sounds like it's even more so knowing how they're going to respond. So,
Exactly.
is there a way to determine basically where they're at and how their personality is on a quick basis or kind of by judgments or
I'm not going to say quick or slow, but I'm going to answer your question
mhm.
with four letters. Read. READ. R means, and you're going to see how what you talk about fits in. I'm selling this pole right there, right? Let's just keep that in mind. That's what I'm trying to sell. The R, building rapport, means that I'm going to sit with the person, not say a word, ask them questions about why they came to see me. I'm understanding who they are. The A, no, the E, R-E, the E, I'm establishing the need. Also, tell me more about the problem. You really haven't taken a day off in a year. What has that done to your relationship with your kids? What does that have done to your mental state of mind? Blah, 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 blah. The A, advancing the tailored solution. A is where I start to speak. Well, do you think, Steve, if we do this, that might help you with your business? Hey, Lucy, do you think your building that you've been trying to sell for the past 8 years, if we do this differently, would that help? You know what, Mo? Yeah, you're right. Lucy, do you think if we try fix this mistake that you've done before, right? I'm advancing a tailored solution. If you guys notice, up until now, I have not said anything about what I'm selling. The D, developing the commitment, that's where I start talking about my product.
Mm,
It may not happen from the first meeting. I leave clients sometimes, right? We shake hands, let's meet in 2 weeks, and I haven't even spoken about what I'm going to do yet. It takes time. That's why, like, when you said quickly, it
mm,
may not be quickly. And sometimes do over, meaning sometimes I get excited, I get a big old client that I've been trying to go after, and I can see that we're this close, and I jump very quickly to the D, and I see this start backing up, I reverse. I jump back to the R again, and I start over again. I cancel everything I'm saying, and I go back to step one. It's a game. You guys get it? That
mm.
READ, forget what you sell. Believe me, nobody cares. People are going to buy into you. Find your best version of your brand, of yourself, which goes back to the mindset. Fine tune it and polish it. Figure out how to connect with the customer and answer this one very simple question. If you're my client in front of me, in your mind, when you're coming to me, there's a sentence that everybody has. I feel something. That whatever it is that they're feeling that they need, if you figure that out when you're applying the read process, before you even get to the D, you have them, but they don't even know it.
Mm.
They're already going to go with you if you play the game right. We do this workshop. It takes practice. Like this is one of the sales strategy workshops. I call it applying the read. We don't even talk about the product that the client has because it doesn't matter, right? We talk about the sales conversation.
I
Back to
love
you,
that.
sir.
I love that. I think of cold calls. Now cold calls have their place, right? And they're valuable, but it never gets old when, somebody calls you and you're like, "Hi, is this
Hmm.
Nicholas Farrell?" And obviously it's phony, right? And then they're like, "Are you willing to sell XYZ Maine?" And like there's no relationship, there's no rapport. They went right to the bullet and it's
Exactly.
just it's I'm already angry. Like there's no coming back from it. Versus
Yes.
somehow finding a way to build that relationship and go through those steps. And I feel like that's where the best deals are found. And usually not one, but multiple after, right? They keep buying
You're
because then they're
building a
comfortable.
relationship. Exactly.
I love that.
I hate the one thing that shuts me down the most is when I'm at a networking event and somebody's like, "Here's my card. I would love to sit with you to talk to you about about what I do." Blah blah. I'm like, "How do you even know that I need it?" Do you know, like, really, you guys think about it, right? When somebody with all confidence comes up and says, "I would love the opportunity to sit with you to show you how my investment portfolio will help you maximize what I'm broke. I don't have money, right? I just won the lottery. I don't care about money. Do you guys get it? It's sneaking up to them,
Hmm.
combining it, right? Let's put the whole picture together. The mindset,
Hmm.
understanding your personality, understanding their personality, applying the read, all of it comes together to finish the transaction.
I love that. That's so good. I want to take this now in a completely different direction and
Tell
talk
me.
about something near and dear to my heart, which is burnout.
Hmm.
Um, Most people that go through any kind of length of business hit burnout at some point or multiple times.
I did.
And
Yeah.
what do you do to combat it? If you hit it, what are you doing wrong? Just can you talk to us about like the things that you've seen people go through and like what the problems are, maybe what the solutions are?
I will tell you what I did, and then we'll try to talk about maybe like in a perfect world what you should do.
Hmm.
But like I said it even before you said it earlier, when I was in corporate, I got burnt out. The expense accounts were great. I traveled well. I ate well on the company's dime. Everything was great. But I would go back home. Dad, my soccer game was this. You missed this. You missed. You guys get the idea, right? I missed a lot of things at home. And I could not deal anymore with the corporate politics. I wasn't as seasoned and as experienced as I am now dealing with people. I got burnt out. So what I did, that's literally what I did. I said, what are my priorities?
Mm-hmm.
Right? What is it that I want? Is it money? Is it watching my kids grow? Is it having a big house? What is it that I want? Right? And I visualized what that life that I want, and all the other pieces of the puzzle fell in. I was like, well, you know what? What do I enjoy? And this was the question I asked myself. And I was telling my wife about it. I told myself, if I won the lottery and I had money, I can't stay home. I would be bored. What would I do that I would enjoy, even if I have money? And it was teaching and educating customers, clients.
That's awesome. So earlier you mentioned this about taking time for yourself. I'm sure that factors into the burnout thing,
Of
which
course,
is not doing that.
of
And I
course.
think most of us here, at least speaking for myself, don't do that.
Hmm.
So how important is that? And how do you factor that
Extremely,
in?
extremely important. You factor it in, and let me tell you, one of the courses that I have with my
Hmm.
clients is called Smart Time Management. And a printing company just signed up with me last week. Mike, he signed up with me to do that Smart Time Management course, and it's because of that. He's doing a million things, and he doesn't have the time to manage his priorities properly. Part of what we do, Cole, learning to delegate, to let go of things. You've got people that work for you. If they can do something not as good as you, but 80% or 70% as good as you do, give it to them.
Say that again, because I'm sure people miss that, and I know that is so good.
So if I need to do something, right, and I have people that work for me, if they can do it at an efficiency rate of 80% compared to me, meaning, what's a better way to say it? 80% as good as I can do it, give it to them.
Are you saying then I should not expect them to be 100%?
Of course not. Don't. No, no,
Why? Tell
no.
me why. Just because
Why?
I know that's a
Now,
thought
now you're
process for most
going
people.
into leadership. Now you're going to leadership. Why? Because if I'm obligated to do this and I know I can do it 100% well in my sleep, it's an opportunity for them to grow.
Hmm.
Which means, as a leader, as a good manager, you sacrifice the perfection to give them the opportunity to do it the first time at 79%, the next time at 82%. Do you get it?
Hmm.
But that now we're talking about leadership. Like a good leader does that. If I know there's something that I do every day, it means nothing to me. But this sales rep to go out to the field to meet with a client is his dream, give it to them. And how you can categorize it if you're a task oriented person like a D or a C personality, they don't understand it when I tell them that. So I break it down to them. If it's something that is urgent, that needs to be done, but it's not critical, hand it off to someone else.
All right, now you got me all excited about leadership. So can you give me a, if you can pick a top couple, three, whatever you want to do, biggest qualities of leaders that make them successful?
Give more than you take. Meaning, one, and this was something that I read. It's not my conclusion, but I read in one of the school book a case study that I had that the leader, I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was at UPS. Anyway, the leader gave a lot more to his team than he expected from them. Not even than what he actually took, but what he expected. He trained them, open door policy, covered some of their mistakes, dealt with them as humans, rewarded them more than punishing them. Right? He gave more. That one is huge, I
Hmm.
think. Plus the delegating. People think of delegation as being lazy. Delegation is actually helping your team grow if you do it properly. You guys get it? I would say, without taking more time, those are the first two things that come to my mind to do as a
It's
leader.
so good. Let me broaden that then and say, because I have a couple other questions, but I want
Tell
to kind
me.
of cap off here, which is what are the top things that make somebody, let's say from in your experience, that make the business owner successful versus not? Are there a couple habits that the most successful people have, or just what are things from your entire experience that you've said this
There's
needs to happen?
there's a lot. The first one, I think, don't be stagnant. Don't take anything for granted. Nothing. If you have the biggest customer base that's been with you forever, they can disappear in a second. Meaning, do not rely on your existing customers, your repeat customers. Even if they've been there forever, they can evaporate. And I've seen it. I've really seen it evaporate in a day. By the end of the day, they could be gone. Right? So don't be stagnant. Don't be comfortable. Don't take your team or your customers for granted. And I'm telling you, like the things that I've seen clients do by mistake. Do not assume, do not assume that a good sales rep or a good sales agent will make a good sales manager.
Mm.
I have managers that say, I have this really good sales rep. I'm going to promote him to be the manager. I'm like, well, have you ever seen him manage somebody? No. Have you ever seen how he's going to deal with somebody if they criticize him? No. Do you get it? A good professional in a job does not mean they're going to be good at managing people doing that job.
Love it. So, so good. There's so much more I want to go into, but I want to go into kind of one of my favorite sections, which is I ask these same questions to every guest, and I love hearing the different responses. So, my first one is, and you can kind of cater these to
Mm-hmm.
your industry, but what separates top performing investors or business people from everybody else? You kind of answered this, but
Yeah, I think it's understanding that relationships in a business matter more than the product or service that you offer. Understanding that customers, clients discriminate, meaning they eliminate, if there's 10 potential people they can work with, they will eliminate nine and leave one versus pick one out of the 10. And if you really think about this, you'll understand how different it makes the client think, right? So understanding that, appreciating that things change in the market, appreciating technology causes paradigm shifts in everything that we do. People that pay attention to that stuff and they're not just running every day, right? Selling, 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 but they actually take the time to think about working on their business versus in their business. That's what separates them.
so good. What's a daily habit that contributes to your success?
Every I wouldn't say, I mean, I wouldn't consider myself, successful. I'm happy with what I do. But the one thing that I do every night is what I told you guys. I really go home and take about half an hour, especially if I'm driving from Jersey or New York. I have an hour drive. I sit and think about what I said and the reactions in people's faces based upon what I said, if it was good or bad.
Mm,
And if it was something that I can correct, I correct it the next day. If it was a misunderstanding, but I take time to reflect every day,
I love that.
every day.
What is a daily habit? Or excuse me, I just said that one.
That's
I was
okay.
thinking about your response. What is a piece of advice that would you would give to yourself if you were starting again?
Habits and perceptions are not reality, meaning they're not permanent,
Hmm,
meaning habits can be broken, meaning things that are ingrained in my mind can be different, can change, right? It's not even about challenging yourself or let's go out and do the impossible. It's just about understanding that the negativity in your mind may not all be real. And I'm not talking about you like doing yoga or playing martial arts, right? I'm talking about you in front of a client that you're intimidated by or a competition that you're intimidated by. It's not always real.
so good. What's your favorite business book?
What was it? Oh God, it was written by a consultant company, a Navy SEAL. Do you guys know which one I'm talking about? Extreme ownership. Yes, extreme ownership.
Mm,
Thank you. I knew somebody would know it. I love that book.
that's Jocko Williams, right? It was
Willick.
Willick.
It's two
Willick.
guys. Yeah,
That's
I
it.
love. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Love it. All right, last question for you. What's your favorite part of owning your business?
Helping people. It really, just what I'm doing right now. I just love having these conversations.
I love it. I
That's
love
it.
it. All right. Any questions? We got a little extra time, so
Yes, sir.
Yeah, from the people you've coached over the years, who would like to take that big risk for the financial reward, whether for themselves or their family, what do you find are the most common things that hold them back from taking that plunge? Is it judgment from others? Is it self-doubt? Is it fear of losing security of what they might already have?
All of the above, plus that they don't know how to execute. Meaning this, and this is why they bring me in, right? And I see it on LinkedIn. A lot of people post motivational stuff, and I see a lot of my clients. They spend thousands on motivational speeches and books, and right, they have those plaques up on their walls. What did you do with it? Well, I'm still reading. Like they're busy being busy. So it's the self doubt, it's the experiences that they had before. But then see, like everything, if you notice, it's interesting the things that you group together, those personalities we're talking about, if you parse them out, each one of those that you said would fit like a puzzle with one of them, right? Like the C, the complaint person, they're very critical of themselves, self doubt. The S personality, they hate change. They're very stable, no matter what you do. If they're making 80,000 a year and they know they're going to be making 80,000 a year for the rest of their lives, they will not take a $200,000 job that comes tomorrow. Do you get it? So all of yes, so it's I've seen all of the above. It could be all
Great
of them.
answer.
Yes, sir.
I was trying to write down your exact quote, but you said you were talking about training your mind to understand that this is going to be successful. I think that
Wait, yeah, I think I know what you were talking about.
and then I think we
It's
got
not.
into the vision boards right after
Yeah,
that.
it's not. Well, can I reword it?
Yeah,
I think it's more that
these are your words.
visualize the end result of after you complete what you wanted to do, that success, what it's going to look like, and then trick your mind, or you will be tricking your subconscious mind into believing that that's the reality.
Love that.
Do you get it?
Yeah.
I tell my daughter before she goes to an interview, like when she's driving in the car, say that you're going to get this job, say that you're going to get the right, say what it is, that not even like say you're going to do well in the interview, but no, the job and the money that will come, like build that world in your mind.
sounds similar like assuming the close. Just like assuming it's gonna happen. You're just fully
Exactly,
like, yeah, it's happening.
exactly.
Hmm.
Any other questions, anybody?
And what was read again?
Build
Or
rapport,
establish the
establish a need, advance a tailored solution, develop commitment.
Commitment.
That's kind of like where you shake hands. How do you leave it up? Leave it off. What open-ended questions do you ask? What closed questions do you ask? If they're hesitant, how do you bring them back to another meeting?
And it was advancing tailored
Solution.
solution.
Mhm. Yes, sir.
Any other tips like with like reflecting, like you said, kind of like sit in silence? Is there any other ways you would say better reflect on
Yeah,
what
there's one, but it scares me that you write it down. There's such magic in writing things down. It's kind of like a mirror to your soul. Like, did I really do that? But I would say writing it down. That's the other thing I think I could think of.
Any prompts on how you like what you're writing down?
Exactly what happened.
Just what happened.
Exactly what happened. Don't sugarcoat it. It's not an essay. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to perfect it. Just literally write down as raw as it is what you did. Yes, sir.
So back to read. You listen to the person, you really connect with them, you understand the problem. Can you describe how you take that next step then? Bring it into the closing side of the deal?
Yes. Do you remember the part where I said about, let's take it from that step. Do you remember when I said, do you think if we do this, Lucy, would it help you sell the building? Right? This is where I'm starting to ease the way in. Because those solutions that I'm presenting will be completed by what I offer. Because here's the natural progress of the discussion, right? Oh, yes, it would. Have you tried doing this before, that solution? No, I haven't. The person that you spoke to me before, that you met with, my competition, did you talk to them about that? Yes, I did. Well, why didn't you do it? Right? I'm learning intel about the others, what they're saying, do. And then I'll say, well, and this is what I do, right? Well, I have, and remind me to tell you like something else afterwards. I tell her, I have this workshop that we can try. From my experience, it has worked to do this to solve the problem. But the one thing I want to add, I don't know how you guys do it in your businesses, but what works like magic is when you offer more than one solution. Especially with the D and the C personality, they love to feel like they won, or they tricked you, or that they chose what they're going to do. So, like, for example, I told them, well, we can do a workshop for $2, just for the sake of example, right? For $2, or we can do like a 1 month long training program for $10, or I can give you a bigger package for you and your team for $100. I'm giving them choices. When you give people choices, it makes them feel either they're in control or that you're not tricking them. And it lets you also not lose the sale. Because if I go right off the bat and tell somebody the $100 option, if they can't afford it, I lost. But do you get it? So it's still questions. Now, what I would like to ask you to practice is, even up until the very last sentence, don't talk, ask. Meaning, pose everything as a question and let the client say yes. Even if it's up until signing the contract with you, pose it as a question. You're welcome. And you guys listen to your client, not for them to finish talking and you continue talking, but listen to actually hear them. You guys get, like, really, when you stop talking, really listen to what they're saying. Don't just wait for them to finish so you can continue your script. It makes a big difference.
All right, sounds good. Well, let's give Mo a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you, everybody.